Hello world, welcome to a Champions Online Guide. Today we're going to look at the Devastator, which is a premium archetype and the only premium one that I have, and very likely the only one that I will review. It is melee, damage dealer, and it's pretty tanky, especially if you want to go with lots and lots of constitution and use Juggernaut, or you could actually stack all the strength ever. Quite flexible in how you can build it for an archetype and has several different options for building depending on what you prefer. For low levels, you're probably going to want to stick to cleave. You can throw some eruptions in there, but mostly it's going to be all about the cleave. You don't really get another power until level 17 as far as attack goes, in which you can choose between Skewer and Skull Crusher. I personally prefer Skewer because Skewer taps with the initiative advantage do quite high DPS, even more so than Cleave. However, Cleave has the advantage that once you complete its combo, it stacks or refreshes your enrage stacks. Skewer does not do that unless you're hitting more than 3 targets. Then you can get a stack of enrage. But if you're using it against a single target, you're never going to get stacks from it. That's where Eruption comes in. It can be a pretty nice spike, or if you want to go a more tanky route, you can put on Crippling Challenge and have that as a way to apply it every few hits. If you're leveling with heirloom gear, you're probably not going to get too much beefiness until you're level 15 plus when you get Con. But if you want to go strength stacking, you can start as soon as you hit level 10, when you can put your first advantage points into the strength spec tree. I didn't actually level this archetype up to 40. I went to 30 and stopped since I already have one that's fully geared at level 40 that I spec'd into 40. Pretty much the only difference between 30 and 40 is you get 2 more powers. For an ideal setup, I would probably go with Skewer taps with Eruption and then occasionally applying Arc of Ruin with the No Quarter debuff. And then using Brimstone as a point blank area effect attack for the trash mobs. Although honestly, I could also use Skewer for that as well. Since it's an area effect attack, it's just Brimstone is easier. You can just drop right into the middle of a mob group and then Brimstone everything to death. And of course I would always choose Vicious Descent because that power is just super awesome, even though you also get Decimate, and that would leave me without a ranged attack power, which I usually like to have on melee because there's always going to be those times that you don't necessarily get to be in melee range with the enemy all the time. But I just really do prefer the Vicious Descent, even though it's basically a second lunge and totally unnecessary. If I was going to go for a tank, I would probably keep Cleave, rank it all the way up, take Challenging Strikes, and then put Crippling Challenge on Eruption instead of taking it to rank 3. And that would be my main attack. I would pretty much cleave, and then cleave some more, and throwing in Eruption when it was off cooldown. Maybe like do a rotation of cleave, and then Eruption, rotation of cleave. Skewer does have really high DPS, so it might be totally possible to use that based on pure damage as something for tanking. Just have Crippling Challenge on Eruption. I choose to go for damage, and if I can tank with pure damage, that's pretty cool. I chose to go with lots and lots of Constitution to take advantage of Juggernaut, and then of course the offense that Warden will give me from that. I think I have 5 Constitution mods on my level 40 Devastator, and they're just the rank 5 ones. So it's a pretty hefty chunk of Constitution, and it gives me about 66% defense, which is pretty good for something that's supposed to be all about the damage. It's very tanky. The healing, not so great. You could also choose to go with lots and lots of strength. You could stack the crap out of strength and have tons of health. You wouldn't be taking advantage of Juggernaut, but you could take advantage of the increased critical hit chance from the strength tree specs. So either way works well. And it's nice that the Devastator is flexible like that. It's probably one of the better premium archetypes from what I've seen, just looking at the powerhouse power trees. Pros for this archetype: you have access to strength as your primary super stat, which is an excellent tree, and of course it's the flexible one where you could choose to go crazy with the constitution mods for Juggernaut, and then you get a lot of offense when you couple that with Warden, making it pretty beefy. Or you could choose to go crazy with your strength and take advantage of the extra damage and strength giving you health through the spec tree. Brawler is also a good choice for a damage dealing archetype. There's a debuff on crit, you get finishing blow, which does more damage when your target starts dying. You have offense expert, which will help you use aggressor more often. And you might as well go with glory of battle if you want to, if you have points left over. I mean, that's still good because every single attack outside of eruption is an area effect attack. So that will benefit you as well. I mean, there really aren't any bad choices. I probably wouldn't go with flanking because it's not necessarily often that you'll be behind your target. And setup would work if you're using cleave and then you want to do eruption taps in there. There's really nothing bad in the brawler tree for the Devastator. Okay, I wouldn't go with no escape, that's kind of lame. Your energy builder has a chance to daze your target. Well, okay, everything else is a better option. Outside of no escape and flanking, everything is good. There's like more good things in the brawler tree for the Devastator than you have points to spend on. And of course, if you don't go with combos, you can still pick Strength Mastery over Warden Mastery, which is still a good choice. You'll just get more strength and more offense. I mean, there's really nothing bad to say about the talent tree choices, or even the super stat picks. Strength, recovery, and constitution, it's pretty much perfect. I mean, there's no why would you put this in here kind of thing. And of course, you have the flexibility of how you want to build. Probably not going to use every single power, but if you really like to cleave and you want to make something that's pretty tanky or even an off tank, you can do that. If you want to do a ton of damage, you can do that too. And of course, there are no shortage of ways to stack Enrage. Cleave will stack Enrage, Eruption because it's a knock. Skull Crusher, Aggressor obviously does, Vicious Descent will, and even Earth Strikes, Brimstone, pretty much everything outside of Skewer and Arc of Ruin will apply or refresh endurance stacks, or enraged stacks rather. Cons for this archetype: like pretty much every single other damage focused archetype, the healing options this thing has really sucks. You have Endorphin Rush on Enrage, and I believe the tooltip is wrong anyway. As far as I know, Endorphin Rush scales with your constitution but is a flat 6 seconds of healing. It is not based on the number of Defiance stacks you have. And since you have plenty of points, you might as well pick it up, but let's face it, it's not a great heal. It's not very good. It's pretty weak. It's not going to save your life. You're either going to need a healing patch, or someone to heal you, or to pick up the green orbs when they drop. The choice between Vicious Descent and Earth Splitter is really odd. It's basically giving you the choice to lose out on a range damage power that you might need in favor of having 2 lunges. It would have made more sense to have Decimate and Vicious Descent be the choice, because then you choose between a short lunge and a longer lunge that has a really awesome advantage to knock everything over and give you an enrage stack. There's kind of no reason to have those two being paired like that. Skewer versus Skull Crusher, I don't know, I never liked the Skull Crusher animation. It's kind of silly to me, and Skewer does more damage, so there's kind of no point in picking Skull Crusher over Skewer. I mean, unless you like the animation, and then go nuts. I mean, that's kind of part of the choices, is picking what looks cool. Speaking of powers, there are too damn many powers, which is kind of something that I think is a problem with all archetypes, or at least most of them. There's more powers than you really need. I mean, if you just want to go with Cleave, then you don't need Skewer, you don't need Skull Crusher, and you don't need Brimstone. You may not even need Eruption, just it depends on what you want to go with. I mean, sure, the build does allow you to be very flexible, but then you have all these powers that you just don't use. If you want to go with Skewer, with Skewer taps for lots of damage, you're probably going to go Skewer and Eruption, and you might not use Cleave or Brimstone ever. I'm not sure about Unstoppable. It's not a bad passive, but it's not exactly amazing either. Whether or not the knock resistance is good for your character kind of depends. I mean, even if you had like full rank 7 mods for everything, you're probably only looking at like 120 knock resistance at level 40, which if you didn't have a whole bunch of strength, or any strength at all, would be nice. But if you're strength stacking, it's not really going to matter. And even if you only have maybe like 1 or 2 strength mods, you're going to match it just in strength. I know, I suppose it's not terrible. Unstoppable just seems like it needs something. The damage reduction is really, really weak, especially when you compare it to Way of the Warrior, which has the exact same damage scaling, but you get dodge instead. Which is nice if you stack lots of defense. That's a nice little boost. Even if you don't stack lots of defense, maybe you want dodge gear, it's still going to be not bad. It's not going to be amazing, but definitely better than, you know, taking 50 less points of damage or whatever crap Unstoppable gives you, which isn't that great. Overall, the Devastator is pretty good archetype. It's one of the better built ones. It doesn't look like sadness and failure like so many of the other premium archetypes do. It is fairly tanky for being a damage dealing archetype. It does use heavy weapons, which are on the slow side, but you know, they're heavy weapons, I guess they're meant to be slow. You do get a lot of options, and nothing is really glaringly bad. You have good stat selections, good tree choices, good options on how to make really beefy or really powerful damage dealer. There's not a whole lot of bad to say about it. There's some, you know, sketchy choices, I mean, but nothing like incredibly like, oh my god, what were you thinking kind of choices, or just looking at it and being like, I don't even understand why you would ever consider putting this as a tree choice. There's not really anything bad to say about it, other than, well, it's an archetype and you have to pay for it, unless you were lucky enough to get it while it was free, which as far as I know, you no longer can.